All right, y'all. So we have to talk. There were some fans, there were some people who were pissed about Aemond accidentally, quote unquote, ending Luke's life, right? Because they were just like in the books, Aemond apparently meant to do this, right? So I want to talk about why I think this change could be a very good one and why I think overall it just makes a lot of sense, especially when you look at how dragons are used and how they are bonded with their riders. Let's talk about it. So before we get into it, I don't know why I do know why a lot of the fans are mad, but I think the angry fans should keep in mind that first of all, George R. R. Martin wrote or co-wrote, I can't remember which one this, either way, he wrote on this at this final episode, right? So this is the author's writing in this last episode that y'all looking at, okay? And also on top of that, I want y'all real quick, it's just a paragraph. I want to read what Ryan Condal says about this in Variety, okay? So he was asked this question. In the book, Aemond means to kill Luke. So how did you decide to shift it to an accident instead? I think he gives a really good answer because he says this. Historians have told us that Aemond intended to kill Luke, but I don't think any of them could purport to know what was going on in Aemond's head at the time. And I would also dispute the word accident a bit. I mean, Aemond got on his giant dragon and chased his nephew on his much smaller dragon through the clouds, screaming and yelling at him, incensing his dragon, and starting a fight. He didn't know how Arax or Luke were going to respond, and it ended in tragedy. I don't think that was what Aemond intended when he threw his leg over the saddle, but he did a horrible, dangerous thing. That is the point. This is a war of many cuts that led to a really, really bloody wound. It adds complexity and nuance to the character that's potentially interesting. There's lots of runway to go on with Aemond as a character and the story of the dance. This is his first act as a dragon rider and a warrior, and it's gone very wrong. Now, what happens as a result, and how does he respond? Those are the questions I'm interested in as a dramatist. So yeah, I think that's one of the first things that we have to remember is that this story, the things that we are supposed to know about, the things we know about it, is being told from someone's perspective, or, you know, so we don't really know a historian's perspective, Archmaester or something like that. So we don't really know what actually happened. I guess the show is supposed to clarify that. And of course, if George wrote on it, then that's his stamp of approval. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with doing this. And now keep in mind, I'm just gonna have spoilers for the entire Dance of the Dragon. I'm just gonna cover that. Just if you don't want to hear anything that happens in the future, you're not gonna want to listen to this or watch this video. So just getting that out the way right now. But I think a lot of people may have an issue with this, especially when it comes to the fact that spoiler, in the end, Daemon and Aemond are going to fight. So I think that they want the weight of that to be just as powerful as it was in the books. And I think it will be. When you think about dragons and the bond that they have with their riders, the first thing is that Daenerys has been saying this shit forever. Dragons are not a slave, right? If you remember in Game of Thrones original series, Daenerys could barely control Drogon Drogon wouldn't listen to her. Drogon was snapping at her. Drogon would spend entire seasons away from her. She'd be wondering where he at. He would not fucking listen to her, right? And of course, in the end, Drogon took her ass even when he did listen to her, even when she finally stood up to him in the what was it? I was about to call it Dragon Pit, but the Colosseum. Y'all already know what I'm talking about, when the Harpy was coming after her ass. Even when she did stand up to him and she flew on him the first time, and he just took her to what, Essos or some shit, completely out the way. Just took her elsewhere, and she was fucked up. She was fucked because of that shit, because Drogon wouldn't get his ass up. So it's like, even when the writers do have a good bond, they're not a slave. They're not a slave. Drogon sat his ass down. He was like, look, mama, I just saved you from the Harpy. I just flew this amount of this long way here. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm going to get my sleep. And that's what he did. And so Daenerys was taken. In this particular scene where we have Aemond, what Aemond did was fucked up. Like, it doesn't matter what he should have known that this could have ended up this way, right? So Aemond, let's listen to what Aemond did. Aemond got on the biggest dragon in the world and chased around his nephew, who was small ass dragon, knowing the emotions that's behind that. This person was the one that slashed out Aemond's eye, right? So of course Vhagar is feeling that. Vhagar is feeling that you don't like this motherfucker. You already, egging me on to chase this motherfucker around in the sky while it's storming. Of course, Vhagar feeling that shit. Vhagar feeling that you don't like him. Vhagar feeling that this person injured you. Vhagar feeling that shit. It's like, it's the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but it's almost the same thing. Like if you have a super duper protective dog and you keep egging this dog on, you keep egging this dog to chase your nephew around the streets. You keep egging this dog. You keep moving this dog. You keep, making this dog aggressive. Yeah, no, get him. Go get him. Go get Luke. And then you gonna act surprised when the dog chomps up Luke ass? You see what I'm saying? I think that it makes sense within the lore. Like, we can have, all kinds of conversations about decisions that have been made in this show, but I really think that this one is not as serious as some fans are making it. Because, for example, if you remember when Luke was flying around on Eric's trying to defend himself, or he was even trying to defend himself. He was trying to run the fuck away. He was trying to get away, right? But Luke did not say Dracarys. Luke did not say Dracarys. But Eric spat fire anyway at Vhagar, right? And Luke was like, what? No, serve me. Both of them were saying serve me to their dragons, like, please stop, like, stop playing. But the thing is, like, after Aemond gets Vhagar big ass and eggs her on, gets Vhagar to just chase Eryx around. At this point, what Viserys said is starting to make sense. Like, dragons are a power that, Targaryen should have never trifled with. Now, because you're getting these wild animals to chase after or you're getting Vhagar wild ass to chase after each other, and Eryx is like, bitch, I'm small as hell. You think I'm gonna just let this motherfucker keep chasing me, keep snapping at me, keep running into me, trying to run into me? Like, of course, Eryx is like, yes, of course, you are my rider, Luke, but at the same time, Vhagar's big ass is chasing me. Like, what do you mean? You haven't said Dracarys yet. Like, we're about to die. Like, what do you mean? So, of course, Eryx is like, yo, I'm trying to not only protect myself, but also protect my rider. But then, by doing that, Eric, and I think Luke knew that, and Luke did, like I said, he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to do none of that. He just wanted to get the fuck away. So he didn't say Dracarys. But, he knew that if you just don't want to piss Vhagar off. You don't want to piss Vhagar off. You don't want to piss Aemond off. So he was just trying to get the fuck away, right? And then, but when you breathe fire in Vhagar's face, even though she ain't feel that shit, like I said in my other video, she ain't feeling that shit. Vhagar did not feel that shit. Eryx is too small. So Vhagar didn't feel that shit, even though she didn't. When you already been getting cues from your rider, Aemond, to just go after Eryx and to keep flying after him, and keep, being aggressive, and then Eryx spit in your face. Oh, it's over. It don't matter what Aemond's saying. Vhagar got pissed and chomped that shit up. But the thing is that this all could have been avoided if Aemond didn't get on his fucking dragon, egging it on. So it's like, yes, it was a quote unquote accident, but it would be like the same thing, like I said, if you had a bunch of Rottweilers running around and you're egging them on to chase after your young nephew. Like, okay, maybe you didn't mean for the Rottweiler to completely devour your nephew, but it happened because you were egging that shit on, and they're wild animals. Remember when Daenerys brought the Masters to where the dragons were being held when she locked them up? You remember that? And because she had suspected one of them or a couple of them, many of them were fucking her over, and she just presented them all in single file line to the dragons, and she said to them, I remember this, she said, my dragons may eat you if I command. My dragons will eat you if I command them to. They may eat you even if I don't. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, my dragon's gonna, the dragon is a dragon, baby. That's first and foremost. It's an animal, it's a wild animal. If you attacking that shit, if you're egging it on, if you're, you know what I mean, being aggressive with it, yes, it does have a rider. Yes, these people can tell it Dracarys. Yes, these people can, you know, control it to a certain extent. But it's an animal. It's a wild animal at the end of the day. But what you do to egg that shit on matters, Aemond. It matters. So yeah, he may not have meant to completely chomp up Luke ass, but it is an expected, a logical ending to what Aemond started. It just is. It just is. Like, you can see Aerys, you can see Luke fighting for their fucking life in these clouds, stormy ass clouds in the dark, chasing them all over the place. You can see that happening. And instead of backing off, or instead of not doing that shit in the first place, you get surprised when Vhagar chomp up Aerys' ass. It just don't make no sense. Like, Aemond, oh my god, I'm so surprised. Like, it's not really that surprising. It's not really that surprising. You had the biggest dragon in the world and you were egging it on to chase Aerys. You were egging it on. You were egging this aggressive, I mean, it's not as aggressive as some other dragons Vhagar is, but it's just, Vhagar has been through so much. Vhagar is one of the original dragons, baby. Like, who came here during the conquest. She's seen so much fucking war. So you gonna egg this war dragon on and be surprised when, you know, the person at the other end, Luke, ends up dead? So, you know, I do like what it does to the character. I like what it does to the character. I like what it does to Aemond, because now it's like, do I claim it? Do I not? Do I act like I was meant to do it? Do I just hide from this shit? Do I act like it never happened? I mean, he can't. But, you know, it's definitely a unique or an interesting addition, or an interesting way to push that character's story forward. Because you're playing with these dragons like they toys. You're playing with them like they little chia pets or some shit, and it's like, you know what they can do. They have flattened cities and civilizations. You can't be acting like, oh, well, I'm just gonna get and toy with him and get on the dragon and just play around a little bit and see what happens. Like, this is what happens when you fuck around with dragons. This is what happens when you act like, you know, oh well, whatever. Like, that's what happened. So let me know what y'all think. I think it's fine. I think this change is fine, or, you know, especially given, like I said, George wrote it. The things that we know comes from one historian who might have been biased one way or the other, or who just doesn't know all the facts for real. And also, given what we've seen dragons do when they disobey, when they do what they want to do, even when they have good bonds with their riders, and then the dragons feel your emotions. Right? So you can be saying like, no, it's okay, I'm just trying to get away, or I'm just it's fine, don't attack. Meanwhile, the dragon is feeling that you're like fearing for your life, right? Or the dragon is even if you say, oh no, don't bite, don't chew him up, but the dragon is feeling, Aemond, that you're being aggressive, of course things will get out of hand, right? So I don't know, I think it adds a very interesting dynamic to this, to these events, to this war, because it's like, how many things have happened because people did the shit on purpose and people were, you know, just aiming for a certain result? And how many things have happened because they were just acting stupid or negligent or cocky or careless, reckless, right? And I think, I really hope season 2 just gets into that for real. Like, let's just see all that. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. I love talking about this. I love seeing people's different perspectives on this. So let me know. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will check y'all out later.